All right, well, welcome to Nerd
Nerd
News
News Now.
And we are on the 26th of March, and it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And if you're not watching us on the 26th of March at 6 o'clock, then you're probably watching a rerun. But that's okay, because then it's Nerd News whenever you're watching us.
And I'm Bob Snow with Design Factor Graphics and Media Access Coalition.
And my name's Jim Carrillo with Blue Marquee Consulting, and then I'm also with the Media Access Coalition. But more importantly, this is MHAT, Morgan Hill Access Television, Channel 19. So today we are trying to do a couple things. If you see me reaching over here, that's because I have the control room right here. In the past, we tried to run our control room from our computers, but our computers have just been dying on us.
Yeah, I didn't use mine today, so I pulled the one from the studio, and it's given I'm getting the same thing. I got nothing running, and it's 100% CPU usage.
Yeah.
So I can't even open a browser. But I just noticed here, I don't know if you noticed, what's log monitor?
Wow.
That's running at 74% of the CPU.
Kill it.
So I'm going to
So the thing that we
end the
do,
process and see if it shuts the computer down.
yeah, the thing that we do whenever we're working on technology is you just test it, and if it breaks, well, then it wasn't meant to be, was it?
Yep.
Right.
So, actually, for those people who don't know about this, we could show them what I'm doing or how I look at it.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
So what it is if you're on your computer, Windows obviously, and you push Control-Alt-Delete, it'll pop up at the Task Manager. Now this one's going to look a little bit different than different versions of Windows. They have little different options. But this one, see, I can see right here, the bottom part, I don't know if you can see it very well, shows how much memory is being used. And this computer has about a half a gig, 500 megabytes memory.
Yeah, that's not much.
And it's using 400 megabytes. And I have nothing running except for this task manager. And obviously the operating system. But you can see up at the top here, it's 88% of the CPU is just, something's gobbling up all that power. So
Even after you killed Logmon?
Is that?
Did you kill Logmon yet?
No.
Okay.
So what we did is you can click on this tab over here. That's and this one shows the user's performance. This tab, applications, shows nothing is running. That'll show you whatever's running if if it's Firefox or Chrome or Adobe Illustrator. So then we go to this processes, and you can sort it out by what's using how much memory, and it's not much. I mean, it's in there. But if you click on the CPU usage, it'll sort it, and you can see this top one, logmon.execute, is using up a lot of that. So what I'm going to do down here at the bottom here, and we'll see what happens when I click that.
Oh my
And
God.
the process tells you not to do it. And system idle process.
87, kick it.
80%, and I go back to performance. But if you look at this chart here, even though this process is this system idle process,
Maybe that's just saying
it's just, that runs all the time, but it doesn't take up. But you can see up here, when I stop that logmon, it just dropped down crazy.
Go check out what Logmon is.
So let me, do you have something to talk about? And so I'm going to open up a browser.
Okay. You know what? I've got to apologize. It is sometimes so difficult. Go ahead and you look at the browser while I'm talking about this one. But it's sometimes difficult to direct, manage technology, and be what we would call the talent. I don't know if you call us talent, but that's the term for it, all at one time. And sometimes we leave you looking at our monitor for like 10 minutes while we're talking.
Yeah, and we forget you're
So,
saying it. So, okay, so it's...
But yeah, so I apologize about that one. But in the meantime, what I'm doing is I'm downloading some videos for y'all to watch on breaks, because we decided we're going to take 3 breaks today. One at the 15 after, 30 after, and 45 or 15 tilted hour. And the videos that we chose for you it's from Funny or Die, and it's it's a mockery of a cable access television show, which is what Bob and I are doing. And basically, in a sense, they're kind of mocking us. And it's one of those where they call it Between Two Ferns, because they have one fern on this side and one fern on that side, and that's because low budget cable access television, that's about all the set that you have. And then they use a black drape as the backdrop, much like one that we've used in the past at our backdrop. And it's hilarious. It's more of a comedy skit, but it's just about as serious as it can be, because it kind of sometimes looks like what Bob and I do. Things fall during the thing, during their little episode, and things will people will walk through the set, just like here. So that's what we got planned for you today.
Okay.
And now, Bob, did you find out what that logmon was?
Well, kind of. I did a search for what is logmon.execute, and there's this website, file.net, how to remove logmon. Oh, an error. It says logmon execute is an executable file for Windows. The file extension, you know what, this wording here is different than on the little description that it came up under the word search. It gives you like a little 2 lines of a summons. It says logmon execute is not essential for Windows 7, 8, or XP, and will often cause problems. So we're not alone in this, but that's weird why I would just click here to see what logmon is doing and how to remove it. So I don't know if I want to remove it since this isn't my computer.
Well, the fact that let me look, it's running on my computer.
Logmon is a component of rescue and recovery. Remember, and becomes pre-installed on many desktop machines.
I'm gonna look if it's on my computer right now. So the way I did that, I did a shortcut. I didn't do Control-Alt-Delete. What I did was I right-clicked on the Windows bar at the bottom of my screen, and there was Task Manager there.
Oh, okay.
But let's see if I got logmon. H-I-J-K. Nope. I don't got logmon on. And for my CPU usage, I've got something that's eating up 115.
And you know what they're talking about here? It says constantly taking CPU power away from, and right here it says it can use up to 90% of the CPU resources on an IBM ThinkPad.
Oh, that's funny.
This just happens to be an IBM ThinkPad. May lead to, wow. And if it says it may lead to overheating other components because the processor's running.
Oh, wow.
You know, I did notice it was warm air coming out here.
Do you think that was the thing that's running on your computer that's the problem?
I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to look at that.
Huh.
So, although on mine, I have looked at CPU usage, I thought, to see what was using it and didn't notice it, but I'm definitely going to go back and look a second time. So, let's see if we can go back, and I'm going to go to, see if I can open my mail and if that'll, yeah. So,
Oh, by the way, last week we were talking, I'm sorry, what were you going to?
oh, I was just opening my email so I can look at what I...
Last week we were talking about Google Hangouts. And
yeah.
We had a hell of a time here in the studio doing Google Hangouts, which is kind of ironic since we're here in a video studio having a problem with video on, gosh, this is our life. But we decided to have a Google Hangout on Friday. And I'd say for the most part it went okay. One of the problems that we had was, for whatever reason, Bob's camera looked like it had Vaseline smeared on the lens.
Yeah, and I've only used that camera twice.
Yeah.
And it was in my computer bag for
forever, huh?
Forever, so I'm sure it just got messed up. What it ended up being on the camera, and plus it's a cheap old camera, you rotate, there's a little ring around the outside of the thing, so they guys had a pretty good laugh watching me sitting there trying to focus the thing. So I finally got it focused, and it worked okay.
And then the microphone, for whatever reason, wasn't working, and you never figured out why it wasn't working?
I think it was my headset microphone.
Yeah?
I think it's an old one, and it has worked because I've used it before.
Yeah.
But when I changed my setting to use, there's a built-in microphone in the camera.
That worked.
And that worked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's and then I gave Renee a
oh, that's right. She said
webcam so we'll see.
So next week we'll should be more. We'll be able to do it a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, it took we did a half hour. And it took a good 20 minutes just to get everybody synced in, and I think John's he had it pretty. He was up and going right away.
Yeah, John went pretty good. I was I had done it before, so
yeah.
It wasn't new to me, but in my computer I had already the settings all set up for it. So,
yeah.
But we did play with the tests of the video and putting little hats on each other. That was kind of dumb.
Yeah,
I hope we stop that
and muting. And I was still working on my thing when you guys are playing with so you can mute the other person as well as yours.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, because it was weird because when I clicked on it, I think somebody could mute. It mutes at your end or something. So if I didn't want to hear you talking, I could click mute on you.
Did it mute me for everybody else?
It seemed like it was, I don't know who was doing it, but because I was kind of working on it and I kept seeing that mute come up and on, and so it was. So it should be a little better this time. So.
Yeah, we'll keep on testing it and find out all the kinks about it, but it's kind of nice to just goof around with the new technology.
Yeah.
See what it's about. I still don't see its use in society yet. I mean, Skype even has its limited use. It's when people are kind of far away and want to keep in touch. But
I have used Skype 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't use the video portion though of Skype.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I use Skype every day because I have my phone number tied through Skype.
Oh, okay.
I paid for a Skype phone.
And then you're not paying any more. Long distance calls are different anyhow.
So I pay $50 a year for my phone, and for that I get my phone number and all the unlimited calls I can call. And
yeah, that's cool.
So that's what's that. What did you find out about the stuff that you emailed yourself?
Okay, there's a few things. One, I was going to kind of show a video, but then I've watched it a few more times, and I don't know if people really want to. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me, but
what's that?
It was a video. I was looking at it earlier, and it kind of tied in a little bit to a couple of stories that I read. But this one I saw a while back, and I watched the video. It was called the Ghost Heart, and what it is they've taken they've done other stuff with it, but the video I saw was University of somewhere in Sunnyvale, a company, they did this one video. And what it is they took a heart, and I think this was a pig's heart.
Oh, goat's heart.
Ghost.
You did say ghost.
Ghost,
okay.
Yeah, like a...
Yeah.
Because what it is they take, and now here's where I get a little confused. I kind of looked at it real quick. But they take the heart, and they pump it. They put it in this thing with different solutions, and it pumps through the heart and everything. And they did it on a time-lapse thing, and what it does is it melts all the cells that make up the muscle, everything, and gets rid of it. So all that's left is this like white translucent material, and basically I don't think it's cartilage, it's something, I forget what they call it, but it looks like the shape of the heart. And they pull it out and it kind of collapses or whatever. And what they've done is they've taken that, I think they did it with a mouse's heart is the one that they did, but they'll take cells from the existing actual cells and they will put it in the solution and the cells start regrowing and they attach to this frame. So they essentially
recreated a new heart. And they've actually done it where they transplanted it into another mouse, and it didn't reject it. Wow.
It took it as its own heart because it was its own DNA and cells. But looking at it, it looks like, yeah, it's just like pure white thing, and it still looked like eventually it like collapsed because there was nothing holding it. But then they would filled it up with fluid and stuff, and it took the shape of a heart.
Wow.
And then once they rebuilt this, but that's kind of what I was, this other story I read last week is they have actually, let me see if I can, let me see if it'll open.
Before you go on this story, we're ready to take a break. You want to wait for after the break?
Yeah, no, we can go for a break.
Okay, let's wait for, then what we'll do is we'll play this video. But like I said, this is for the Funny or Die series of Between Two Ferns. Think about cable access television and what Bob and I are doing here and equate it to I'm looking at the monitor right now and I see my forehead is so blown out with light. I just don't even know how to.
Maybe during the break we'll
or something.
Lighten it a little bit.
But at least you all get to enjoy the this episode of Between Two Ferns. Or maybe you won't.
My guest is Will Ferrell.
Hey.
Hey, man.
What's up?
What's up? Hey.
Great to see
Nice
you.
to see you,
Thanks
too.
for having me.
You look great.
Fun. Thank you.
You look really good.
Likewise.
Yeah. We've really never had a sit-down one-on-one. I think we had that lunch one time.
We did have a lunch,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In New York?
You're a big lunch guy, too.
Yep.
I knew that was the case. Everything must go.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a departure for you, right?
Yeah. You've done a little bit of that where you get to do a more serious.
You do one for them, you do one for you.
Right?
Is that, yeah, that's the kind of, yeah.
Bones it out.
Oh,
God, that really hurt. I'm sorry, did that hurt you? I felt like we barely touched.
Should we see a clip? That was good.
There you have it.
Yeah.
And just to be real clear with the audience, that's the part of the film where the monkey grabs a frog to suck on his genitals.
Right. I think this is going pretty well so far.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. Do you mind if I do a word from the sponsor?
Oh, no. Yeah, you got to.
Okay. Handle it.
Men in Speed Stick. I actually have a sponsor as well.
Oh, really?
If you wouldn't mind indulging me, it's Charlie.
It's a women's perfume?
It's a woman's perfume.
Does it smell good?
It's pungent. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your downtime, what do you get up to?
Well, I like to do a lot of work with the community.
What's going on?
You're fat.
Can I just stop you real quick and just say, what a wonderful atmosphere you have here. It's a great set. It's a great, incredible spread. In fact, I was having some. Can you bring some of those cherries over? I was having some of these cherries. Have you tried any of these cherries before? Just take one bite of it. Is that not the nicest cherry?
Let me know.
Well,
you had the thank you. You okay? Let me help you with it. What is your favorite app?
Oddly enough.
Did I have my keys here?
What?
My car keys. I can't find my keys.
It was like
So
2.5 years ago.
Can I just look around?
Yeah.
I got it. Cool.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye.
What kind of other things do you do in your downtime?
I'm starting to manage dance teams, hip hop groups.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Anywhere from 4 to 50 kids. And just a lot of energy,
Yeah.
a lot of motion, a lot of fun, a lot of high-fiving, a lot of smiles.
That's that's basically the mantra of it. It's like a lot of fun, a lot of high fives. Is that what you said?
I said, if you're listening, a lot of motion, a lot of high fives,
Yeah.
and a lot of smiles. That's what I said. I was pretty clear about what I said. I'm listening to what you're asking me, and if you're not listening to my answers, let's just call it a day.
But the mantra is just the...
Just shut up about the mantra. Just shut up. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
If you can't get the fat out of your ears and listen,
Okay.
then why am I here? Get the fucking fat out of your
Okay.
ears.
You know what? I'm not that fat. Okay? I'm not that fat. Lost 9 pounds.
Between two ferns. Okay, now I get what it is. Because I heard they were. Oh,
Yeah, now that you know.
I was gonna now that because I remember reading about it when it was in the news that Barack Obama, the president, went on the show,
Yeah.
and it was like between two ferns. I didn't get what they were talking about.
Well, I've got the. Oops. I've got the Barack Obama episode coming up a little later on in the show. So
Oh, okay,
people
cool.
get to see that one. Matter of fact, I think I'll play that next. And that was a pretty funny one. But I think we're having a hard time with our technology here. We can't even get the videos to play correctly. So
Yeah.
I really don't understand this whole formatting thing.
Oh well.
But you got some.
Yeah,
art
because the
to show.
TriCaster has a weird codec in it or something. It won't play some files back properly.
Yeah.
And I think it was even MPEG-4. I remember reading something when we first got it that it wouldn't. They tried doing the whole system to save things as MPEG-4 because the new technology, they wanted going toward high def or something, and they just had big issues with it and had to go back to an older. So newer formatting MPEG-4s, it won't.
Well, I'm
It
gonna
doesn't
try.
play 'em
I'll try
properly.
AVI now and see what it does.
Yeah, good.
But man, I hate AVI because it's so huge. This is Barack. Dash test. Okay. So you got the heart stuff going on, huh?
Yeah, so what it is, there was another article I was reading
Let me get this.
that where I found what is left, and it's what's left after they take all these cells off of it is collagen and elastin. So I guess that's the structure of it. But this picture, this article, was talking about. I'll blow this up a little bit so you can see why they call it the ghost heart. So this picture here, this one here is actually lungs. It was a 2-year-old lungs. This one on the right that looks all white is after they took all the cells off. Mm-hmm. The one on the right, it's kind of pinkish, and they said it's not as, that's after they grew the cells back onto it.
Oh wow.
So what they did is in this particular instance, apparently it was I think a 2-year-old was waiting for a lung transplant. They couldn't get it, so they took. What they do is they immerse, whether it's the heart or the lungs or whatever, they immerse it in this thing, and they said it looks like Kool-Aid, but basically it's just a solution of nutrients and everything that the cells use to grow back, and they just they put the cells in there and they just rebuild. And it took, I think they said, about 4 weeks to 4 weeks to grow back fully. And they said it wasn't as dense, and this isn't anything. Even the people working on this said it's going to be a decade before they can even get them. But just the technology is just a trip how they do that.
Yeah.
And that was what makes them, in the heart transplant that they did that wasn't rejected, what it is they're using the cells from that person, so it's just regenerating.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, I've got something that something we've talked about on the show before. Remember that we've introduced a new technology. Actually, it was you, and one of those things where they say it's not going to come out for like 10 years. Type of thing.
Yeah.
But Bob was talking about this stuff called graphene.
Oh, yeah.
And graphene is, I'm just going to say it, and don't ask me what it is, but nanotubes that are grown with graphite.
It's essentially graphite. It's carbon.
Oh, carbon. What is graphite?
Graphite is the same thing. I think it's carbon that's mixed with something else, which makes it, graphite is what's in pencils.
Right, okay.
That kind of thing. So basically, I think the guy, when I was reading about it, would take a piece of carbon or graphite, and the structure of it, they just start splitting it, and it splits into sheets. And they just did it down to where it's one atom
Yeah,
thick.
so it gets down so thin. You ready for this, Bob?
Yeah.
So thin that they have now been able to create a night vision lens
I saw that.
that's thin enough to be embedded into a contact
Contact lenses, yeah. And you can see, this material, and you're not really seeing it come out yet, these technologies quite yet en masse. But all these universities around the world, big universities, are building just complete buildings, whole departments working on this stuff. Because it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things that just seems magical.
Well, if you can do that, if they can do night vision goggles in a lens, well then obviously they can do a monitor in a lens, right?
Oh, yeah.
They won't have Google Glass anymore, they'll have Google contact lens. That's
But you would have to somehow connect.
Well, by that time, they'll have figured out how to work the brain waves to the computers too, and you could think on.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, those nanotubes are just, they're actually a tube made out of the graphene.
Made out of the
And then
molecule.
apparently, from what I'm reading, I mean, it starts getting into very technical past my, that I can do. But the way they build things, they just restructure these tubes, and it makes different different materials. And like I said, one of the things, they mix it with plastics and layers of things, and like I said, they'll be able to build car frameworks because it's harder than steel.
Yeah.
Some of these things, and super light, and way better than solar panels for collecting and storing. So all this material is just going to go into, crazy stuff.
Yeah, do you ever watch shows like The Walking Dead or anything like that?
No, I've never seen that one.
Oh, God, that is a great show. Great show.
Oh, really?
But it's about like, I guess you'd call it Armageddon or whatever.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. And these people are forced to live on their own regards. They have to kill their own dinner and stuff like that. And I was just kind of thinking about how far we are going into, so that everything that we have is manufactured. It's not even just that we're manufacturing machinery. We're manufacturing graphene tubes. That you can't do that, without. So, anyways, I guess my point is it's going to bite if we end up going. Into.
Well, there's another show that I recorded it like 2 seasons of it and never watched it. No, I watched like the first 6 episodes 2 years ago.
What's that?
And then doing it, and I don't know what it is. I got addicted to watching it. But it's a terrible show. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just it's so unbelievable.
What is it?
It's called Revolution.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I watched the whole thing too.
I mean, it gets addicting, but it's like,
It is-
it's such, it's like,
It's like the worst acting, isn't it?
it's the acting and just the thing. It's like these guys, you know, there's two of them and they battle like 20 people, and then okay, they're done, and the next thing they've, you know, the next day they're halfway across the United States. You know, I mean, it's just, but it's, I don't know what it is, but it's, if it's like just brain dead watching kind
I
of
don't
thing.
know. I like it too.
But it, the premise was that these people invented something and it shut the power off.
Yeah.
But in the newer ones,
By
I've
the way,
watched it clear up to this.
Have you watched them?
Yeah.
So you know what the answer is. What shut it off?
Yeah. It was,
Kind of like nanotubes, but they were alive.
yeah.
And then they
The
were
nanotechnology, and they're flying around, they're
absorbing.
like in the air. And
Yeah.
so I've watched it clear up to the new season. I just want, you know.
You know what the funny thing is I remember when I first watched it, I thought, well, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, because there's nothing in the world that could ever do that can
Yeah.
cut out like. But then once they told, you know, they revealed how it's done, I thought, well, that is absolutely possible. I thought, my goodness, we could actually have that.
Yeah.
Because
And it
with
was.
the nanotechnology.
And have you watched it clear up to this, where the one guy ended up?
I'm like 2 episodes behind or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't spoil it then.
Oh,
right?
it's
The guy Aaron, who created the code that
Yeah?
created these things.
Tell me, because I saw one of the.
They were, apparently there was a flaw in the code.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so maybe you're up. And they came back and were wanting him to, then they got in his mind and,
And he gave up the something.
yeah, he fixed the code.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, because he was playing with it in his dreams. He thought it was reality. And,
I saw that episode.
you know,
Yeah.
okay. So I think that's actually the last one.
Oh, I'm caught up then.
So,
Wow.
but yeah, it's funny because they start talking about this nanotechnology, which is, yeah, the little flying things. It's crazy.
Ah.
Oh, while we're on this science-y stuff, I read another article. Now, we've talked about these 3D printers and doing stuff, and now they're making parts, like they can print bones and all this other stuff. Well, apparently they use that same material that's left with the, it's a powder form that was left in the hearts after they took all the cells out.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there was this baby that had some kind of disease where her esophagus or trachea would collapse. It wasn't showing. The parents kept, the kid couldn't breathe, and CPR or, you know, wasn't really helping. They went to the hospital a few times and they got fixed. Well, what they ended up doing with this baby is they brought it in, realized that's what it was. They did a CT scan of the baby's lungs, which made a 3-dimensional model of the lungs. They had this 3D printer using this machine actually build an esophagus stent. And the reason they used that 3D model of the lungs is so that it would fit perfectly into the organ. And they put this thing in the
So
baby, and
they use like an X-ray machine to determine what the dimensions of this thing had to be.
well, it's like a CT scan. Those things that it's like a scanner that will scan a 3-dimensional.
Oh, and that's the
Area.
machine that the people go in and.
Yeah, and because they actually did that. They used when I was in hospital. They used more of like a sonogram thing, but they recorded it.
Uh-huh.
And my cardiologist actually brought it up on a screen, and you could see my heart. So they could see where it was. There's a little area when it's flushing the blood through that. There's a little void where it. So that's why I'm on blood thinners, because there's a little area in there. But they brought it right up, and it was on their system, you know. And he just brings it up. Oh, here's the result from that scan. And because it's an actual 3D, they could take those parts and they put it in this printer and built the rest of the.
Oh,
So, I mean, it's just getting.
that's crazy. And what did you do today?
I pounded on my computer and couldn't get it to work. But, I guess you guys know by now, we turned off that logmon execute and
Everything's good to go?
it's working fine.
Yeah, you know what I did on my computer? Restart.
Oh,
I just restarted it. Let's hope it works. But
now was logmon running when you looked?
but it was just running really slow.
I don't know what it is. And one of the other things that I've noticed is, you know, on my other laptop, actually, it's got to be something in there because, and you gave me this idea, it's like, if there's something in Windows that wasn't working, we could not figure it out. I'm going to look at that logmon thing. But I installed, so I could dual boot, so I put Linux on there, thinking, okay, whole new operating system, same problem, it's just the CPU's up and it's using, so
It's got to be something in your chip.
it's got to be something hardware
Yeah.
based down. Because, when it boots into Linux, I mean, there's no part of Windows that's running at all. I
No,
don't think.
I don't think so either. So yeah, I
So, what's the BIOS?
think the
That's part of the hardware
yeah.
that controls that, right?
This is a good question. So people think of hardware as like a physical thing, right?
Yeah.
And a router is a hardware because it's a box.
Right.
But every hardware,
It's got firmware on it.
yeah, has to have a software program that tells the computer how to use it. So on that router, there's literally a program that was written to the router. They call that firmware, so that the router can do what it needs to do. Every hardware needs to have some instructions on how to run. BIOS is the instructions for your CPU on how to get it to communicate with your computer.
Okay, right.
It's the basic input-output system.
Oh, okay.
Once the CPU can communicate with your computer, it can then control the hard drive and then the network card and all
Yeah,
those
because
things.
I've gone into that before and changed settings and
Yeah,
stuff, and it's like just this very basic little
yeah.
program. Like you can tell it, try booting from the CD drive first.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's nothing in there, then go to the hard
That's right,
drive
yeah.
and
Those are the things it does.
stuff like that, yeah. So,
I met a lady that worked for a company that builds BIOS.
oh, really?
I'm like, oh, that's a really exciting job.
Let's see, what else did I... Oh, maybe I'll pull this video up next time. But I was looking and there's these people that do, where they talk to kids about different, here's kids reacting to whatever. And it was funny because a lot of them were young. One of them was kids reacting to the Beatles. And you're thinking, they have no clue who they are. And I bet you 75% of them, oh, that's the Beatles, I love those guys.
Wow.
And these are little kids,
Yeah.
up to 10 years old or something. But one of them was they sat an old rotary phone in front of them. And most of them knew what it was. They knew it as an antique phone. But when they asked them to call somebody, they really didn't know. Some of them just didn't. They like picked up the thing and they really didn't know how it worked exactly, Because a lot of these kids, they probably don't even. I mean, you don't even see payphones out around anymore.
No, I know.
They're all gone and.
Well, speaking of the old rotary phones, so I do, in my job, for me, I just handle business technology. And depending upon who I'm working with, it could mean websites,
Right.
it could mean credit card systems, it could mean telephones. I allow the customer to decide what does technology mean
But
to you, and then I help them in that area.
Right.
And so I had a client who needed her phone systems redone. So I was rerunning phone lines and hooking them up. And whenever you run phone lines, it's always nice to just be able to, I have this 2-wire system. I literally tape one wire here and one wire here.
Okay.
So I could just touch the prongs and I can
Oh.
hear if the phone's working, right?
Okay.
But on the new phones, you have to have them plugged in and it's got line 1, line 2.
Oh, right.
Because it's all digital, right? My God, so I always carry this old phone with me. And it's relatively new. It's not that it's really old. It doesn't have the dial. It's got the push button.
Oh, okay.
But
Right.
it's the old 1970s phones, and it's kind of like,
Oh, yeah,
Almost, yeah, the arc.
princess phone.
is that what they call it?
I think so. It's like kind of a rounded rectangle.
Yes,
with
yes,
yeah.
a rounded rectangle. So I carry that around with me everywhere. And I left it at Rosie's place once, plugged in.
Oh.
And I'm walking through the restaurant, and I hear the phone ring, and it's like back in her office. And so I went back there and took it out. I'm like, I'm sorry, but do you remember that back in the day when we had those phones, that you could, they didn't have a volume control for the ringer, so you open them up and you put like tissue around the.
Oh, I never had to do that. I remember they had like a metal dial thing.
Oh,
I
that's
think that you
with
could.
beans, yeah.
Well, do you remember how? I don't know if you remember the rotary phones. Like people would like lock them. It was like a kind of like a trigger light, and they could lock them.
Yeah.
Well, you could still.
My mom did that.
You can still make calls out of it.
How'd you do that?
If you lift up the receiver, when you dial it and it dials 3, it goes bing, bing, bing. So like, let's say your number is 776, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
is that
7
right?
on the receiver thing, and it'll dial the phone right
Oh,
now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty true, because we used to it's like, oh man, the phone's locked. It's like, you pick it up and you tap on it.
Wow.
And just pause a little bit in between.
Yeah.
And because that's all the rotary is actually doing, is just as it goes, a full dial around to 0,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
and all it's doing is sending out a electrical pulse. So
Wow. Dang it.
but it's great. Yeah, try doing that on one of these.
Or
Yeah.
or like when you were trying to mimic it says press 2. Woo! Trying to mimic the tones.
Yeah. Well, that was like War Games. You ever see it with Master Brothers?
I did, yeah.
And that's how he got out of the room. It was had an old. They had the old keypad, and they had him locked in some room. So he found this little tape recorder.
Oh,
And
yeah.
called the guy, I need to use the bathroom. So when the guy dialed in the code, he recorded that do-do-do-do-do, those tones. And then he just played it back, and it unlocked the thing. So I know, it's funny how technology is.
Well, you know what? It's amazing how time flies this time, because
Oh, yeah, we're already past.
so what we got to do is I'm going to load up
See if that one will play.
we'll see what happens. But this is the Funny or Die with Barack Obama, and let's see. I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest with you.
Sorry I had to cancel a few times. My mouse pad broke last week, and I had to get my great aunt some diabetes shoes, and
You know what, Zach? It's no problem. I mean, I have to say, when I heard that, like, people actually watch this show, I was actually pretty surprised.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Between Two Ferns. I'm your host, Zach Galifianakis, and my guest today is President Barack Obama.
Good to be with you, Zach.
First question. In 2013, you pardoned the turkey. What do you have planned for 2014?
We'll probably pardon another turkey. We do that every Thanksgiving. Was that depressing to you, seeing one turkey kind of taken out of circulation, a turkey you couldn't eat?
So how does this work? Do you send Ambassador Rodman to North Korea on your behalf? I had read somewhere that you'd be sending Hulk Hogan to Syria, or is that more of a job for Tanya Harding?
Zach, he's not our ambassador.
What should we do about North IKEA? North.
Why don't we move on?
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talk to a president?
It must kind of stink, though, that you can't run, 3 times.
No, actually, I think it's a good idea. If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie. Didn't really work out very well, did it? Now, I have to say that I've seen this show before, and some of the episodes have probably been a little bit better than this. For example, the one with Bradley Cooper, that was a great show.
Everybody loves
He kind of carried that movie, didn't he?
Which film are you speaking of?
Those Hangover movies. Basically, he carried them.
Yeah, everybody loves Bradley. Good for him.
Good-looking guy.
Being like that in Hollywood, that's easy. Tall, handsome, that's easy. Be short, fat, and smell like Doritos and try to make it in Hollywood. Is it going to be hard in 2 years when you're no longer president and people will stop letting you win at basketball?
How does it feel having a 3-inch vertical?
It's a 3-inch horizontal. So, where are you planning on building a presidential library, in Hawaii or your home country of Kenya? Because I mean, both places seem like they would be...
Zach, that's a ridiculous question.
Well, you know, I mean, not to bring up the birth certificate thing, but you really never did really produce your real...
Where's your birth certificate? Why don't you show it to us right now?
I don't want to show anybody my birth certificate because it's embarrassing.
What's embarrassing about it?
My weight on it, it says that I was born 7 pounds, 800 ounces. You know what I would do if I were president, Mr. President? I would make same-sex divorce illegal, then see how bad they want it.
I think that's why you're not president. And that's a good thing.
You said if you had a son, you would not let him play football. What makes you think that he would want to play football? What if he was a nerd like you?
Do you think a woman like Michelle would marry a nerd? Why don't you ask her whether she thinks I'm a nerd?
Could I?
No, I'm not going to let her near you.
So do you go to any websites that are .coms or .nets, or do you mainly just stick with .govs?
No, actually, we go to .govs. Have you heard of healthcare.gov?
Here we go. Okay, let's get this out of the way. What did you come here to plug?
Well, first of all, I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't be with you here today if I didn't have something to plug. Have you heard of the Affordable Care Act?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That's the thing that doesn't work. Why would you get the guy that created the Zune to make your website?
Healthcare.gov works great now. And millions of Americans have already gotten health insurance plans. And what we want is for people to know that you can get affordable health care. And most young Americans, right now, they're not covered. And the truth is that they can get coverage all for what it costs you to pay your cell phone bill.
Is this what they mean by drones?
The point is that a lot of young people, they think they're invincible.
Did you say invisible? Because
No,
I just
no,
think like that's impossible.
not invisible, invincible.
Okay.
Meaning that they don't think they can get hurt.
I'm just
But
saying that nobody could be invisible if you had said invisible.
I understand that. If they get that health insurance, it can really make a big difference, and they've got till March 31st to sign up.
I don't have a computer, so how does...
Well, then you can call 1-800-318-2596.
I don't have a phone. I'm off the grid. I don't want you people like looking at my text, if you know what I mean.
First of all, Zach, nobody's interested in your texts. But second of all, you can do it in person. And the law means that insurers can't discriminate against you if you've got a pre-existing condition anymore.
Yeah, but what about this, though?
That's disgusting. How long have you had that?
Oh, just 4 months.
Really?
Spider bites. I got attacked by spiders.
Zach, you need to get that checked right away. You need to get on healthcare.gov because that's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen.
Is your plug finally over?
I suppose so.
So which country were you rooting for in the Winter Olympics?
Seriously? I'm the President of the United States. What do you think, Zach?
I want to thank President Obama for being on the show.
I'm going to press this.
Don't touch that, please. Thanks for the interview, and thanks for letting me shoot my show here all these years.
You've been shooting these shows here in the diplomatic room? Who gave you permission to do that?
Bush.
Seriously? Who gave him clearance?
What's the spider bite?
That's the other hand.
No, it's everywhere.
All right. Yeah. So I'll have to watch that later. Actually, we couldn't hear it here in the studio,
But that's basically what it's like in the studio. Things fall, things break,
yeah.
things happen. All right. So what you said you were while we were on the break, you were looking up something. What was that?
Oh, I was just looking at something that I thought I remembered. I was but I couldn't find it. So.
Oh, so we're out of luck, huh?
So yeah, it was something that I wanted to talk about, but at the time I couldn't email myself, so I forgot about it. But have you heard anything more about? I read a thing a little while back about Bitcoin. Have you heard anything recently?
Only thing I've heard, it was like I've heard about the banks that got some money stolen from them.
Right.
I think it's a hack. I can't believe it's gonna
Yeah, I don't know what.
I think the fact that it's not backed by a government is what makes it so risky.
Yeah, and just the fact. Well, the article I was reading was one guy. He got hacked or something, but they found his key, and they actually have the little devices that store your bitcoins on them. They're like
Fob, like a little fob.
yeah, I don't use it, so I'm not sure exactly what it is. But there's one guy apparently has gotten very paranoid because I guess he's got a lot of money in it, of even writing his code down on a piece of paper or on his computer and all that. So apparently somebody had read it, so now it's kind of what people are doing. He got a ring, and I guess his father was a jeweler, maybe that's why he thought of it, and he engraved his code on the inside of that ring and wears that so he can never lose it or something. It's like, okay, that's just a little
Overboard, huh?
yeah.
Wow. So, you're not going to be getting it anytime soon?
I'm not going
You're
to.
not going to be doing Bitcoin anytime soon?
No, I don't think so.
No. I was reading another article about how, what's that guy's name? Warren Buffett.
Oh,
He was playing down Bitcoin and saying it was just a fad.
yeah. I mean, if something to me, what's scary is something that was created by a hacker.
Uh-huh. Not a good thing.
Not a good thing. I mean, not necessarily that, but it's something. You never know what's in there.
Yeah.
This guy could have something built in that code that's nobody could find, but especially it's like putting your money into it.
Yeah.
And, actually buying bitcoins because then you're giving real money to somebody for fake. I mean,
For the hope that it might turn out to be.
you never know, but you know that they're seriously now. They've shut down websites. The U.S. government has, at least, for people who are using bitcoins to sell drugs and all this kind of stuff because there's no tracking of it. So I know there's one guy who's gotten busted a couple times, and then he ended up moving to Singapore or something where the U.S. couldn't come in and get him.
Oh, that heavy dude? Heavy D?
No, this was another guy. I know which guy you're talking about, though.
.com?
Yeah.
dong.
What's his name? Yeah.
I don't know, like, what a ding-dong. Something.com?
Yeah. He changed his name to.
Idiot.
But
Wow, that's life, huh?
so. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something else.
Well, I was listening to the news today, and they were talking about this new app for homeless people.
If they have a phone.
Well, as it turns out, and that was kind of the joke, right? They're like, well, what do homeless people do with the phone? Well, the guy that was on the thing, he is the one that had used the app when he was homeless, and so they're like, well, I don't get it. What's your occupation? And the guy says, I work in IT, and they're like, you work in IT and you were homeless? And the guy says, I don't know what you're thinking, but IT people on average make only about $50,000 a year.
Yeah, that's not.
It's not like IT people make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he said he had to drive an hour to his job, and then when his job laid him off, he didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And so you go down real quick. And so he says, yeah, I had a phone, and that was all I had. I had my phone to look for work, and
Yeah.
I couldn't afford a car. I couldn't afford a place to live, and so I was living on the streets with my phone, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of makes sense because let's say a phone contract costs, let's say, $100 a month.
Yeah.
Well, you ain't going to get a place to live for $100 a month, and if that's the only way that you're going to get a job.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't do without it. I mean.
Yeah.
So what's the app?
It was just an app for I know what the purpose of it. I don't know what the app was, but the purpose of it was that if you're homeless in San Francisco, it will show you based upon your location where the nearest shelter is or food bank. Or,
okay.
where you can get help.
That's cool.
Yeah. And guy. I mean, he was just talking about. He said that he ended up getting a job, but the job that he got was a 40-minute drive, and so it costs $14 a day for the train fare to get there.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but he said he started his job, and you can't. How do you pay for the train fare when you don't get paid for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So, so there's a church that he was that was helping him out, and they paid for his train fare and packed him a lunch for the first 2 weeks of work
Oh,
until
that's
he could,
cool.
until he got his first paycheck, and then he can
Yeah,
take care of himself. But you just forget about those things that.
That you get stuck in, you get stuck in a position
Yeah.
and you can't, and a lot of people don't realize, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that how hard it is. I mean, I've never really been homeless, but I mean, I've lived in my car
Yeah.
at times, you know, and, you know, that kind of thing. But, yeah, once you get down to, then if you can't make money, there's, you know,
Yeah.
and what little you have will go very
Yeah.
fast, you know.
I haven't been homeless. I'm with you. I haven't been homeless like that, but I have been homeless where, like, I've been 2 months without a place to live, and I was
Yeah.
just hopping from friend to
Yeah.
friend, and
Yeah, and what we did is me and my brother, when I was telling Anthony, that when we were working at this place and we had just started working there and we didn't have enough to like put a down payment or even to get in to an apartment. So the guy that we worked for, we had known him since we were kids. My dad worked for him. So the company there had a whole bunch of units in a industrial area. So he would let us sleep in the car in the warehouse.
oh yeah,
And then we'd stay, get our money, and we'd go get a Motel 6 like Saturday, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. And,
yeah,
so we could go at least sleep someplace, take a shower and all that, But
yeah,
it was that way, and then you just save your money because even now, I mean, you look, I don't know how people, this is stuff in the city, it would be better, but
hell, I don't know how we do it.
I know, barely. I mean, it's so expensive to live
Yeah,
in the Bay Area. It's crazy, and it is funny because I've known, because it is this area, I've known guys over the years who they're engineers or programmers and all that stuff. When they got laid off and stuff, I mean,
yeah,
they're working literally at McDonald's or any place they can get.
yeah.
It's-
I'll tell you what that is. We're gonna be closing up in
Oh,
a couple
yeah,
minutes,
yeah.
but the ability to, and I'm not gonna say start your own business because anybody can start a business.
Yeah.
But to literally get a client and to run a business
Yeah.
and to make a sale, and I mean, I think that is like survival skills
Yeah,
that everybody needs. And every once in a while, I look at I look at my situation, and I think, I'm just gonna go get a job, and then I figure out how much money I would be bringing home in a paycheck for a job that I
Yeah.
could get, whether it's like Home Depot or whatever, and I'm like, I'm making more than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that I'm making a lot, but it's kind of
Yeah.
nice to know that I'm making more than if I, like the worst case scenario at McDonald's. So that's nice. I think that's good.
And then even McDonald's tells their employees, well, you got to get another job. You can't, them and Walmart's bad
You're getting
too.
political on me there, Bob.
What's that?
I said you're getting political on me
Yeah,
there.
stay away from that.
All right. I think we're good for the day.
Yep.
I hope you
And,
had a good time this week. I thought it was fair.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot better than
It
last
was
week.
good. And figured out something that I'm going to go check on my laptop, that damn Logmon.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna.
All right.
You have a good day, and we're gonna let you
We'll
go
see
now.
you next week.